Welcome to Open Market, a podcast about building companies in the ad tech industry. I am Joe Zappa. I'm joined by Eric Franchi and the most followed man in ad tech, Adam Singer, the VP of AdQuick, VP of Marketing at AdQuick. How's it going, Adam?
Not the most followed man in ad tech, but glad to be on the show and talk to you
I
guys about marketing, blogging, anything you like.
I think you might be. You have like 88,000 Twitter followers. Like Ari Paparo, stand aside. You know.
Yeah, but
Yeah, you're the most followed. You're the most followed.
most of the marketing industry isn't even on Twitter now. It's like just people into politics and people who are kind of into fighting and big world issues. There's a lot of finance people on there too, like people who trade stocks post a lot, which I like that audience. I do some investing, so it's interesting for me. But the marketer audience is pretty much on LinkedIn these days, which I don't have a lot of LinkedIn followers.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. So it's Tuesday, June 30th, 2026. It's the Tuesday after Cannes, and I declare today yesterday was the last day you stopped posting your AI generated follow-ups and your selfies and your images of your feet on the beach. Adam, I don't know if you've got a perspective on that.
People, it's a big party. I think it's great that people go and have fun as an industry. I used to be really snarky about events and stuff because I was a consultant in a past life. I'd be heads down working for clients. I wasn't the one going to events and doing, business development, and I would post things. But I have a new perspective now that I'm older and wiser, and I think it's good where people get together. The flexing online part, whatever. I mean, that's basically where we're at as a culture. But I always hear good stories of people making new friends and getting inspired a little bit. And sure, there's silly AI videos, but the industry should bring people together to break bread. However we can do that, wherever we can do that. And certainly it is an excuse for a lot of brand people to go to France and get out of their corporate HQ, wherever that may be. So good for them.
All right. Okay. Did you go, Adam?
I didn't. We sent, I think 9 people from my team went, and I organized some meetings, and we ran an out-of-home campaign, which was really fun.
I know. I saw it.
Talking about how out-of-home is measurable. We booked one of the ads with AI, so we could have an ad that said an agent booked this ad, and it's fun. We like to. I would say if you're an ad tech company and you're not using your own products with regularity, that's probably a big red flag that you might not be at a company you want to stay at forever, because you need to be dog fooding. You really need to believe in your own product and put money in your own platform. Vibe.co was just acquired for 1.4 billion, and they spent. I just had their marketer on our podcast. They were spending $2 million a month at peak on paid media, which is incredible, and a lot of that was going into their own platform. So. Like, what a great case study on streaming ads.
Yeah, I just commented on Joe on your post on LinkedIn. You had a funny post around Vibe and some of the stunts Arthur pulled, but it's like, no, for real. Like, they nailed LTV to CAC. They nailed dog fooding. They nailed cultural relevance. So I completely agree with you, Adam. One of the things that I saw at Cannes that your company did that I thought was really well done was a wrapped Mercedes-Benz. I don't know if it was like for your company and your to shuttle around clients, or it was just like out there, but like it was very visible. It was out of homey. I thought it was really well done.
Well, we did 5 of them, so.
Okay. All right. Well, I saw one of the 5.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Adam's got to be a Tesla driver. You drive
I
Teslas,
am a Tesla
Adam?
driver. You must read the blog though, because I've written about that.
My man.
Yeah, EVs are great.
Yeah, I think I've seen it before, but. Yeah.
But once you really think about it, Rory Sutherland explained it like this: an EV, if you could have no gas vehicles and no EVs right now, and you saw the list of features of both, a gas vehicle wouldn't make sense, right? EVs don't need service. You don't have to stop at a petrol station to refill it. There's no emissions. Your home is a gas station, right? It's like this crazy thing that gas vehicles even exist when you think about them both from first principles. Sure, if you need to go more than like 300 miles a day, like you're doing a road trip, the gas vehicle is better. But for daily commuting and for errands and whatnot, the EV is superior. Like I have a gas car and an EV. And I almost never use the gas car.
Yeah, hard agree. I'm with you.
Eric is Eric is also a Tesla guy, but that's very representative of the dynamic of our relationship. He's like a very practical man, right? And so he would agree with you. Eric would be looking at the two like lists of like the features and be like, this is the superior logical choice. And I'm like, I moved to Miami and I was like, I will be getting a Mercedes convertible because, I want to be luxurious and glamorous and just scoot around Miami.
Well, I think the previous iterations of the Teslas, I don't think they were good enough yet, especially the Model 3. Like, it didn't have double pane glass. It was kind of loud inside. But it's almost like waiting to get an iPhone, where like the first iPhones actually weren't so great. They were still, slow. They had the screens kind of worked. It was a great device for the time, but they got so much better. And I figured, why be a beta tester of something that costs, $40,000, $50,000?
Yeah. And the other thing about Teslas, and we can, and here move on to the conversation is, it's like you got a new car every quarter or so when they do the software update, and you've got all of these like amazing features that just kind of came onto your car for free. You woke up and, you've got these new capabilities. So I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
So, Adam, I think part of the reason you've been able to build what is honestly for people in our industry and for B2B, like a pretty massive audience online, albeit not only talking about marketing topics as you underscore, is this ability to sort of go across topics, right? And so that's something we might want to think about is tell the people about your just history of writing your thoughts online with the newsletter, with your Twitter content and so on, and how that led to an audience. And then we'll get into sort of connections to the B2B marketing universe.
Yeah, sure. So I've never wanted to be an influencer. I have no interest to make a living posting reviews for brands or even about, a million different software companies or whatnot. I like working on one, but I was
Pretty damn good Tesla influencer right there.
I've actually sold a few of them, and you got a referral bonus, but not a Tesla influencer. I was an OG internet poster in the 90s. Like I like to post forums. I had my first blog in like 2004. I just like sharing ideas online. Actually getting me to, I'm doing a podcast for AdQuick because they asked me to do it, but it's actually hard for me. It's hard for me to do this too. I'm a bit of an introvert, but it's good. It's a muscle that you flex and you get better at. But I just like sharing ideas online. So I think that's what sort of separates me from a lot of other marketers. I don't wake up and I'm like, okay, how can I sell a given thing today? Or, okay, I need to influence this market. I'm not really thinking like that. I just post, ideas that come to me that are really interesting based on what I'm thinking about, what I'm reading, what I'm observing in the world. And it's as simple as that. There's not really, I didn't read like an ebook on 100 ways to build a following online. Like I've never taken a course or anything like that. I just posted to the internet for a long time. I think I was on some forums in the 90s and had, over 100,000 posts. So I think I have like 400,000 tweets, but and interestingly enough, I don't love the mobile revolution. Like I like to compute on my workstation, which I do a lot. And then I like to leave my computing there. And like on my smartphone, I don't have like any meta applications or social applications. I try and just use it for like driving directions or things I would do on mobile, because I think our computing time should be at a computer and should be focused. But I don't love that cell phones have sort of hijacked the way that we connect when we're in person with friends and family or even coworkers. Someone's checking email. It's like, I find it pretty rude. Like your attention should be on what's going on in front of you. I also have a following online as a byproduct of sharing ideas online.
But Adam, I think what you started out saying is key, which is that everyone who crushes it to any degree, right? Anyone who has success anywhere from you do a decent job to crushing it with content online has a love of the game. Like you have to enjoy posting content. And I think like people who are not naturally like that, but would like to get good at posting content to market themselves or their company would do really well to take that lesson seriously and just to think about like, what in this world am I passionate about? And, you know, like I have CEO clients where I'm like, look, man, if you want to post about the Knicks, post about the Knicks. Cause like something is better than nothing. And maybe you start like developing that muscle of posting content and you start building relationships with people. And even if it starts out not being a work thing, maybe eventually you see a connection, but that's better than, you know, forcing something that you really have no takes on.
Yeah, that's right. Or you can, if I don't think everyone needs to post. Like, I don't think every company has to necessarily be social. For example, if you're in like, a heavily regulated industry, like, part of healthcare or pharma or something like that, just because someone said you should post to the internet, like maybe you don't need to at all ever, and you just have, the regulated comms go out. Because I've seen some industries where I think some consultant told them to start posting, and it just doesn't make sense. And it's not even like there are some areas of B2B where you could join a conversation, but there's others where it's like your comms should be, your IR releases, the things you have to of like clinical data, show up at, some conference and talk, and, have maybe blog posts that go through a lawyer, but you don't need to be like joining the conversation, right? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, old school can be okay if you happen to be in a sector that is very old school. Though there's also a counter argument that in some of those industries it's so barren that you can sort of take over the airwaves if you're like the one company saying anything. But those companies constantly face the challenge of not being able to talk about stuff because obviously it's sensitive with data and their customers and so on. Talk about how you got to where you are. So like, for example, we mentioned 88,000 followers on Twitter. You have like, I think 15,000 or so subscribers to your newsletter, which might be even rarer of an audience to be able to build.
Holy cow.
How'd you do it?
Well, I mentioned I've been blogging since like 2004. So, on my old blog, I actually did capture emails. So I've been building a list for quite some time. I think I joined Substack with, like 4,000 or 5,000 subscribers. And, I get recommended by a bunch of people who find me interesting. If you are a blogger, and you're not on Substack or Beehive, you should be, because there's network effects there, and every social platform is throttling our links. So the network effects of getting to be able to be recommended by someone who has readers in a community that are similar to what you want is really powerful. So I would say, if you are interesting and you can show up to one of these platforms, they have good mechanisms for helping you grow an audience.
But still, and maybe it's the same, but maybe it's the same answer. Like, hey, I've been doing this since 2004, and I've been posting on, the internet via forums since the 1990s. You have an eye for like what resonates. Like, I was just, looking at both your latest blog posts and then your top blog posts, and there's just like good commentary, good takes. You're not afraid. So like, is this now instinctive, or do you have a formula for what you post? Because they all seem just be just like bangers.
Oh, thank you. No, there's no formula.
Ah,
I write my conscience of what I want to see in the world, and
gotcha.
yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I think publishing to the internet is like going to the gym, right?
He's like,
a muscle.
this guy's like, no, it's easy. You just do a couple things and then, you just become the most followed man in ad tech. A label he is eschewing with vociferously.
But like, so like 4 years ago, I started lifting every day. When you start lifting, it's really hard. Like, it's objectively like one of the hardest things to go in there and, know
Sure.
you have to go through this set and, okay, this week we up the weight to whatever. But it gets easier over time. And I think, posting to the internet or making YouTube videos or even doing a podcast like this, if you just keep doing it, eventually it does get easier. There's no, like, I feel like the marketing industry is always looking for shortcuts. And they're always looking for hacks. And it turns out for certain things, if you want to do them well, there's no hacks. And actually, this does make a case for why ad tech is probably great for a lot of startups, especially if you're VC funded. You can pay your way to an audience or to customers with ads as a shortcut. And I'm a big believer in ads. I work in an ad tech. But I also think if your company can't organically grow as well and you need to be reliant on just ads, ads are really great and they can help add a multiplier to your growth. But if you don't have a product that or service that is sticky, that people recommend with word of mouth, you're going to spend all this money on ads and you're never going to get any multiplier. No one's going to recommend you. And, there's a lot of companies like this, of course, but ads are such a great way to help figure out sooner if your product is sticky. And then they're a way for mature companies to grow faster. The other thing, there's also these purist companies that think they shouldn't run ads or they don't do any marketing. Like Elon at Tesla says they don't do marketing. Are you kidding me? They do a ton of marketing. And he bought Twitter, which is now basically a giant ad platform for Tesla. So don't give me that bullshit, Elon.
Literally, no company has been more helped by marketing than Elon's companies, right? He's
right.
like the best founder evangelist of our times.
That's right. And so I think the people who disdain ads or write it off, it's like, at a time when every social channel is throttling you, I don't know why you would look away from a channel that basically has millions of dollars and however many engineers focused on figuring out ways to sell your product. Like, why would you not take advantage of that because you have some hubris because someone in Silicon Valley said they don't like ads? Which, the funny thing is, half the internet and half the Silicon Valley, unicorns and big companies were built by ads. So it's also a little bit of a luxury belief not to like ads because, okay, you can pay for, YouTube without ads. You can pay for HBO. You can pay for Substacks and not get ads in the news. But ads really subsidizes all of the content that normal people get. So it is a little bit of a luxury belief to shit on ads.
Agreed. Yeah. Mark Andreessen, I had it bookmarked somewhere. He had this like minute and a half video early on in the TVPN days where, he basically said this. It's like, it's so elitist to look down on ads because it's like, by the way, the rest of the world economically, this is the only way they can access some of the services that's like radically improving their lives, whether it's Meta, whether it's OpenAI, all of these services.
Totally.
Yeah.
And ads
We talk
will
about
allow AI to be ads will allow AI to be free for a lot of people. So
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it's like existentially important to a degree. I realize that's ridiculous, but kind of is.
I can tease out a few principles from what Adam is saying, but I think what Adam is saying about building an audience is something I've said many times too, which is there's no secret, there's no silver bullet, right? So a lot of people want to hear do X, Y, and Z, and you'll blow up online. And the truth is, it's like a number of obvious things. Like if you look at Adam's trajectory, I think timing is one. Like being relatively early to platforms, like I think it is extremely hard now to build like a massive audience on Twitter. You can still build a robust audience that will have a big impact on your business or career. But my guess is it would have been much easier if you had started closer to the inception of Twitter than if you're starting now. So timing and being like early to platforms is one thing. Consistency is an even bigger thing, right? You can't build an audience without being there week in, week out. And the truth is most people just get bored and discouraged and they stop because they like post on a site for like 3 days and they're like, I'm not getting leads for my business or my career isn't changing or my audience isn't growing massively. Third is clear POV and audience. Like if Eric mentioned Adam's good takes, what good takes are rooted in is like Adam has a few topics he talks about and like a very clear POV, like a pro growth, pro America, philosophy that obviously is resonating with a certain group of people. And that was really missing and sort of marginalized in the tech discourse for a lot of years in the late 2010s and early 2020s. Now it's come back in vogue.
It's also marginalized in the marketing discourse. I feel like we need, there's of course problems in America, but I feel like a lot of times ad and marketing people are like extra cynical. And I don't think they're naturally that way. I think they want to be pro-American dynamism. I think they just need people to point to it and say, hey, we can be optimistic, give them sort of permission to. And I think that's a little bit missing as well. So that's another thing I try to do when I write about marketing or culture. I try to say, look, yeah, things could be better, but also we're supposed to set the example for our industry, for our company, for the world. So that's a message I put out to my users at AdQuick a lot too, is that, you catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. And so you want to be a company that users see, and every time they see the brand, they're like, oh, these guys are doing something that's funny, something that's uplifting, something that's, catchy. And they're not just going through whatever, struggle session that, the media wants us to go through that people sort of follow. So.
We should
Yeah,
talk about. Go ahead. Yeah.
there was a there was discourse around the World Cup, right? And was it who was it that said, was it a random fan who said, like, if you want to hate America, watch the news, and if you want to love America, drive through it. And I saw Toby Lutka and others were amplifying that sentiment. I think you posted about it, Adam.
Oh,
So great. Love it.
that's hold on. Some of
Yeah.
the best videos, and I don't even know if they were from the World Cup or they were like kind of doctored as such. So Adam, I live in Jersey, so a lot of the World Cup is happening here, and between like people driving through Jersey and like other areas, people from Europe like going to their first Italian deli for the first time, or their first like Wawa or Bucky's for the first time, and just like absolutely falling in love. It's some of the best content that I've seen like all summer. It's like so feel good.
It's amazing. I
Yeah.
love that. I saw the one of the guy at Bucky's, and you know what?
Yeah.
I'd never been to a Bucky's until I moved to Texas, and I had the same reaction.
Oh god.
Their
So good.
billboards are great, by the way. They're out of home ads where they have billboards that are like 1,000 miles from a Bucky's. Like, what a brilliant way to! I see it going viral
They
consistently.
have
Right?
them
Like
in
that's
Jersey.
yeah.
They have them in Jersey. Yeah.
Out of home is the only ad medium you can do one time, and it's really good, and put it up, and it will consistently go viral multiple times just from the ad. You don't even have to do anything else.
All right. Let's talk about. I've been dying to like reach this moment where we can talk about out of home finally.
Let's do it.
Out of home is so fascinating, and I think that's one of the things that you just hit on, right? Because it's like this unique medium where people take pictures of it and like post it online. They take pictures of ads and post it online. It's the only medium that has that sort of resonance. How do you advise AdQuick customers, from like a creative standpoint, like how to utilize this unique medium, and maybe talk a little bit about AdQuick and what you do for the audience that's not familiar.
Yeah, well, we're the premier out-of-home ad tech platform, so you can plan, buy, and measure your out-of-home ads all end-to-end in one platform. Pretty straightforward. You can think of us like Facebook or Google, but for out-of-home, bringing
Sure.
together, 1,700 media owners in one place. So you don't have to call
Cool.
Clear Channel, out front, Joe's Billboards, and 100 others if you want to run a campaign with specific units. So, like how the internet
Love it.
used to be really hard to buy ads on, now it's not. But in terms of creativity, we're a tech platform. So once again, I was at Google before too. I'm once again an ads arms dealer. Our users can do pretty much whatever they want with their ads within reason. There's different rules with out of home ads. There's different things you can do online that people won't let you do on the side of a building, but you can actually still do pretty much whatever. It's hard to think of something a major brand would want to do that you couldn't do in out of home. But in terms of creativity, I try and show them case studies of successful campaigns that work really well. That way they can understand the best way to do out of home. A lot of users are also really sophisticated online. So one way to run really good offline ads is, well, what were your highest performing ads online? And generally that can inform what you do in the real world as well. But, our brand teams and the people, I think the difference with out of home is you're spending quite a bit more money. So you really want to think through that creative and do it in such a way that's, you've tested, is really strong. It's a little bit bold, versus on the internet it's cheaper. You can run thousands of variations and find out what works. So you really want to be confident in what you're running. And with digital out of home, you can run tests and variations and stuff. But if you're going to run like physical billboards, which we also
course.
have in product, you really want to believe in the campaign. So, but that's how marketing always was initially. You'd spend a lot of time on the brainstorm and the brief and make it really good.
Yeah. What percentage is non-digital versus digital?
It's a great question. I mean, it depends on the company. We
I
have
mean, for you.
99%. We have
Yeah.
99% of U.S. inventory, both digital and out of home.
Oh, wow.
But it depends where you're running ads and what the campaign is.
Got it. We're in what Joe has, termed the outcomes era, right? Like marketers want to have their dollars be, increasingly just like more accountable and measurable, and against whatever action, be it a sale. Out of home is unique and maybe it's somewhat like CTV in that there's no click, right? You can't necessarily kind of have the measurement you have with other digital formats. How do you solve for measurement?
Yeah, so we've solved the measurement problem as best as one can with out of home.
Sure.
We use, we're using mobile data as opposed to estimated view sheds. So we get sample data of the number of people who actually walk by our ad, and we can also do some, data science and be able to tell how many people actually went to a store after seeing the ad. It's not perfect, but it's really good enough to make decisions off of and start to make your out of home ads as measurable as they can be. Our engineering team, I've had them publish technical papers on how they actually do this if you want to read through. But basically what we're doing to measure out of home ads is like the best way you could ever possibly measure it. But another thing I tell our users is not everything needs to be measured perfectly. And in fact, some of the best marketing, never gets measured perfectly. It's it's word of mouth. It's if someone shares your out of home ad, which many people do online, a lot of that never gets tracked in a dashboard. Even if someone walked by it and the device was tracked and they went in a store to purchase, the people who saw the ad online or were recommended by a friend, it's impossible to measure perfectly. And frankly, I think marketers do themselves a disservice if they focus so much on Moneyball versus okay, what's messaging we know works and get it out into the world. I think the internet companies have done a good job training us all to be like lab rats instead of creative directors. And I think we need to be a little bit more on the creative side and use data to help us, help inform along the way and be, directionally, are we doing better or worse?
Sorry guys, I totally I'm dealing with the connection issues. Are you guys having connection issues or is it just me?
Adam's a little laggy for me.
Yeah, it's a little laggy, but we can wrap up.
Yeah. No, all good. We're in
No,
sync
I
right now. We
just
can edit this out. Don't worry, Adam.
yeah, we'll just fix it in post, but I just it was lagging and it totally threw me.
Okay.
I'll turn off my camera and
Yeah.
get a little bit better connection.
Yeah. You wanna pick up, Eric?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, just to underscore what you said, Adam, in terms of just it's not all about outcomes. I go back to Vibe, Vibe.co. They famously like blanketed the New York subway, and one of their billboards, I can picture it. It's the one in San Fran where it was something to the effect of like Target Mark, and it was an image of a dome shaped bald head. So obviously implying you can target Mark Andreessen and those who work at A16Z. And that thing was so memorable. I saw it maybe a couple of times, and I can describe it probably to a T like I did just now. And I think that's one of the unique things about out of home that is kind of hard to track back to outcomes.
Yeah, not everything needs to be measured perfectly. I think marketers can think of measurement as directional, have the KPIs that matter, track them. And you can do some things that are faith-based and that might not fit neatly in the
Yeah.
dashboard. And it turns out a lot of those things end up being the things that build your company and build the brand. And I think if your marketing team is too metrics brained, it's not going to work out well. If they don't use metrics or analytics at all, it's also not going to work out well. And I say this having worked on Google Analytics for a number of years, where I saw all parts of the analytics sophistication spectrum, and it turns out the companies that do the best have like this nice balance between, being obsessed with measurement, but also understanding that not everything needs to be perfectly measured and being okay with that. And the data is imperfect anyway, even in the products and channels that are digital and measured. As you know, it's not perfect there either.
Faith-based.
Well,
I
I
like that.
think, yeah, I mean, faith-based is an interesting term, but I think there are a couple like takes here. One is that like companies in our industry, like ad tech, just the underinvestment in marketing is criminal, right? And then they look at a company like Vibe that sells for 1.4 billion and they're like, how did that happen? How did they get over 20x net revenue like as a multiple? It's like, I don't know, maybe part of it was the perception of urgency and significance that came from them being omnipresent and from taking really big swings on the marketing, both in terms of the kind of thing they were doing, in terms of like the crazy spoof Arthur Caillou did of the Sydney Sweeney jeans ad, but then also just the amount of money they were spending. There was also something that came out this week of it leaked that OpenAI is spending like 40% of their revenue on go to market. And these are just like unimaginable numbers, for ad tech companies where it's usually like if you have an ad tech company doing, tens of millions in revenue, they have like one marketing person, right? And they don't spend much of it. The only thing they spend on is like sending their guys in like brown shoes and like blue button downs to events, right? Other than that, there's almost nothing. There's like no organic social. Maybe there's PR, which is usually uninspired. And they're just not present at all in like the culture and in the discourse. And they are like, why does no one know about us? And it's like, you got to take a bigger swing, babe.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about earlier our out of home campaign at Cannes. You gotta, if you're listening to this and you're, an engineer or a marketer at an ad tech and they're not, as Joe said, investing in marketing and in advertising, how much do they really believe in what they're doing? And I think you've got to believe in it some percent if you really want to become, a big publicly traded company or, I don't think you got acquired if you're not ambitious and trying as well. It's like maybe for scraps. Look at like, look at HubSpot, for example, as a big publicly traded company, how much they invested in, inbound marketing, even though they also do outbound and CRM now too, but they were like their own case study of success. And I think when you do that, you signal to the market and to users, hey, these guys believe in their own product. These guys believe in what they're doing. The Vibe people use their own software as well. We do at AdQuick. And so the more you can do that, it's like probably some of the most powerful marketing, because you're showing you're willing to bet on yourself.
Yeah, it's very rare to have a, successful exit of a company that like literally no one has ever heard of, let alone, the track towards later stage and IPO stuff.
Yeah, Terry Kawaja always says this, right? When we had him on the pod, obviously one of the leading ad tech bankers, and he was like, "This is the most common conversation I have with founders when they come to me, where they say, hey, Terry, we want to get out, like we want to exit. We have this great business. Look at all our metrics." And he's like, okay, but guys, no one's heard of you. Like
Yeah.
no one has any idea who you are. And it's like all you need to do as a starter is just to be out there talking about what you're doing. And as Adam said, if you believe in what you're doing, which every founder CEO does, that should be the easiest thing to do. Like it goes back to the beginning of our conversation. How do you do marketing well? You're consistent, you have a clear POV, and you write about something you genuinely believe in, which every founder CEO should have. And maybe that's a good note to end on.
Agreed. Adam, thank you so much, man. This was awesome.
Thanks, guys. It was a pleasure talking. And Eric, where do you live, by the way? I know Joe's in Miami.
Oh, I live in Jersey. Our office for Imperium is in New York City.
All right. Well, enjoyed the conversation with the East Coast marketing guys today.
Absolutely. We appreciate you. Adam, where can people find you to find these awesome blogs and posts that we keep raving and showering praise on?
Sure. You can read my Substack, Hot Takes. You can find me on Twitter X if you still use it, at Adam Singer. And I'm also on LinkedIn, but you can just Google me. I'm pretty findable, so easy to do.
Awesome. Google them, man. And Joe, we will see you next week, right?
Find the out of home ads. Check out your local Mercedes Benz for an AdQuick advertisement. Take care, everyone.
Take care.